So I've owned this airplane for 4 years and a couple of months. The question is, would I buy this airplane again if I had to buy an airplane? And the straight up answer is yes, I would definitely buy this airplane again, and here's why. What it's really like to fly this airplane. To be honest, it's a hands-on airplane. You can't take your feet off the rudders. Your feet need to be on the rudders the whole time. It's very like nippy. It's like a jet ski versus a cruise boat, I would say, is probably a fair comparison. It's pretty sweet to like, I mean, very light for the controls as well, which I actually kind of like. It's not this heavy airplane. Funny enough, I actually took a little kid flying the other day, and he's flown in a Bushbaby, which is like this big military aircraft. And he was like, dude, this thing flies so much better than that airplane. He's like, it's not, you don't have to work hard on the control to move anything. So there's definitely a softer feel on this airplane. So it's definitely a really nippy plane, very dynamic. So what it's like to fly, yeah, I really love flying this airplane. It is super dynamic. It listens to you. You need to respect the airplane, obviously, but it definitely listens to you, and it's just such an awesome airplane to fly. Where this plane is really good at is short takeoff and landing. You can throw it around, it's nimble, The only catch is if you do fly too up, your performance does go down a bit, but I mean, to be honest, 600 foot per minute climb, your cruise is pretty similar. You may be burning a bit more fuel, but you know what? Is what it is. I think the one thing that does catch me about this airplane is the space on the inside. So it's small things like that, but there's always workaround on that. And there's also something about owning an airplane that's yours. There's always some sort of quirk. So maintenance, it's pretty simple. It's a rag and tube airplane. There's nothing crazy, no composite besides the spinner and the cowlings. It's easily fixable. Doesn't cost thousands because you need to reskin the whole aircraft or something like that. If something breaks, you're probably fixing it with a couple of swear words and cable ties and duct tape if you're in the bush, and you'll probably get home. So it's not like a train smash. Another thing about owning this airplane is it's been honest. It's not perfect. It's not my dream airplane, but you know what? It's my airplane and I get to fly it. And yes, I love this airplane. And right now, this is the best value for money I can get out of an airplane. And performance-wise, I think at the time of buying the airplane, it wasn't about buying the perfect airplane. I think it was more about buying a good base, and this aircraft gave me a good base when I was buying an airplane. If I had to compare sort of similar performance on a different aircraft, I'd be spending 5x what I'd be spending here for the same performance. So maintenance, yes, it's drag and tube and DIY, I guess. So fixing something isn't massively a problem. Unless you're really remote and you need an exhaust welded, which I've had to do, then you go to a tire shop and you get it welded up and you fly back home and you get it sorted when you get home. So, it's not like a FADEC or something that goes and you're stuck and your airplane's stuck in the middle of nowhere, you don't have cell phone signal. So I've never been in that sort of situation with this airplane before. Insurance on this airplane isn't too bad. It's not super expensive. I think the catch is hangarage has been a bit of an issue to work around, but I'm back at Stellenbosch now, and the hangarage is actually cheaper than what it was at that previous place. So I'm stoked about that. When I did my pilot's license, I did it in a Cessna 172 and a bit in a 150. And I was sort of hooked on flying. And a friend of mine and I went on a flying trip. Man, it was a Sunday morning coffee trip, sort of breakfast run. And it cost me the earth. And then I started looking into this and I was like, dude, it makes no sense renting an airplane for the amount that I was projected to fly. And based off that, it made more sense to buy my own airplane than rent an airplane, because they sort of came out to the same price over 200 hours. I was like, dude, it makes absolute sense to buy your own airplane. In hindsight, it probably never makes sense to buy your own airplane unless you really want to buy your own airplane, and you can always tweak the numbers to make them look good for yourself. So anyway, I bought the airplane. It didn't look like this when I bought the airplane. When I bought it, it had a Rotax 582 motor in it. It had a skinny front wheels, small main wheels, and the same friend Tian said to me, dude, if you don't have a tail wheel, or if you keep the nose wheel, we can't be friends anymore. You need to find another hanger. And sure, he was joking about it. But anyway, the nose wheel was the first to go, made a tail wheel. And I did it on a budget, to be honest with you. I just had to make it work. I hustled, sold radio control planes and all kinds of things to buy spare parts. So anyway, I'm on my third engine or fourth engine in this airplane. It's a Rotax 912 in it now. And since the last video, I've done quite a bit of mods to it and squeezed some more performance out of it. So I'm running a dual caliper brake. The single caliper just didn't work when I had a bit of extra weight on in the airplane, like I had a different passenger. The brakes just didn't work really well. I've upgraded the EFIS. I had this old, like when I got the plane, it had this old, like, I don't know, like this really weird little thing that was in there, and it didn't really work well. So this has sort of maps and overlays and everything you need for flying the sort of flying we're doing. I mean, you can even fly IFR with a unit that I have in now. Not that I would, but you could. So takeoff and landing, I'm getting around 60 meters now, where I was getting about 100, and I was just messing around with the pitch of the propeller and things, small little tweaks like that. Cruise went from 88 to around 92, 93 mile an hour, 5,000 RPM, burning around 16, 17 liters an hour, which is super acceptable. The thing is, this isn't a fast airplane, but you know what, it'll get you places and you'll be able to have fun. This plane has taken me everywhere from salt pans. Like I had a 582 and I was couple of friends and us went over like the mountains at like 9,000 foot on a little two-stroke motor all the way to the salt pans. That was a couple of years ago. With the Rotax 912, we've literally like flown across the country to Thomas River. Along the coast was the most insane views. And I've been to the salt pans again and again, and this trip and camping here and all that kind of thing. So definitely, yeah, this plane's definitely taken me places. And I fly it literally almost every week, or whenever the weather's good on a weekend, you'll find me flying. And to be honest, she is a really forgiving aeroplane. I mean, you could be on like cruise speed on final approach, almost over the threshold. You can pull the power, put it sideways, pull the flaps, and you'll be landing. So, and I think it's a nice airplane by design. And yes, there are things that could be improved because it is a bit rugged here and there. But it's an experimental aircraft built in South Africa. It's a Kitplanes for Africa Bushbaby. You know, value for money, it is what it is. Onto sort of the other parts. What's broken on this airplane? Some dude on a scrambler. I'm in the middle of nowhere, so obviously there's going to be a dude on the scrambler. What I fixed on this airplane and what I've had to fix, there's been a couple of welds that I've had to fix close to the landing gear mount. When I got the airplane, it had these really small tires on. I mean, they were pumped super hard and it wasn't really forgiving, so I think the airframe did show some sort of small cracks and things like that. Chatted to the factory, and the factory suggested that we put some X braces in at the landing gear. Because this model didn't have the X brace, the later models have the X brace, that I had to get welded up by an AMO. No more cracking there. Had to fix a couple of holes along the way, and sort of airframe wise, that's it. The other things that I've had to fix was I've had to replace an engine once or twice. Once because the engine sort of gave up on me. The rest was just sort of self-inflicted. Like I tried to clean my windscreen and then I caused issues by cleaning the windscreen or messed fuel on it, and so it's not like anything crazy has given me issues. How much it's cost me since owning this airplane, I haven't done the maths. I don't want to do the maths because I've spent quite a bit of money on upgrades and things, but what I try and do is I sell, like my 582 Rotax I sold off to a friend who needed a 582 motor. So like I just try and hustle and sort of offset costs like that. Like when I upgraded to the bigger tires, I sold my old rims and my old tires. So like I just try and keep it to a minimum, but I've probably got double in what I paid for the airplane, and still value for money. You're not going to get better performance than what you would pay for this right now. So would I sell this airplane right now? Probably not, because I won't be able to get the same performance for that amount of money. I'd probably have to go 3, 4, 5 times more to get similar performance for what I paid or have into this airplane, or what it's worth. I alluded to this in one of my other videos. The cheapest part of owning this airplane is buying it. The expensive part is the upgrade in parts. You could quite easily spend double in upgrades on what the airplane costs, and then you end up with like the airplane times by 2 because you've upgraded parts, and then maybe even a bit more because hey, I want ADS-B, or like I want strobe lights, I want a Garmin EFIS, or whatever the case is. Buying the airplane is the cheap part. Maintaining hangarage, insurance, all that kind of thing is where it gets like tricky. What I would do differently buying this airplane, it was difficult because when I bought the airplane, I only had like X amount of cash, and that was it. And this already stretched me a bit. So to be honest, I probably wouldn't do anything differently. If I did do anything differently, it would have been that I would have put a carburetor version, so like the 912 ULS motor instead of the IS. Look, the IS I picked up as an optimistic purchase, But to be honest, in an aeroplane like this, you want a 912 ULS or UL or whatever it is, carburetor version. And the reason for that is you want to keep it simple. This is the best that I could buy with my money at that time, and it's still a damn good aeroplane, and I get insane performance out of this aeroplane. So yeah, I probably wouldn't buy anything differently or do anything differently, you know, other than I've paid some school fees on cracking windows and things like that. So, you know, it's part of the lesson and nothing crazy, you know. And I think my recommendation to someone looking for a Bushbaby, I think if you are looking for a Bushbaby, my recommendation would be to try and stretch to get a Bushbaby with a 912 UL or ULSN. It definitely makes a difference. In saying that, there are guys flying, you know, like Bushbabies on Rotax 582s, and they're getting really good performance. I think where I got stuck on mine was I just had a really bad experience with a 582 in this airplane. When I just got the airplane and we were fresh pilots, like 80 hours, and we were off to the pans with friends, and everyone had big engines, 912s and fast airplanes, and here I'm sitting with like a two-stroke. The problem is I ended up having to try and keep up with them. Weather was bad, low ceiling, it was windy over the mountains, and then I needed to climb, and I didn't have the power to climb because I'm sitting at 8,000 foot, and a two-stroke at 8,000 foot above sea level, like the performance you're going to get is not great. And that's where I got stuck, because I couldn't out-climb anything. I was burning through fuel. We were burning like 30 liters an hour because you have to get into the power band. So seeing it like almost 6,000 RPM to try and get somewhere. And I got left behind and I got lost. And yes, I had a map, but it was super turbulent and I couldn't figure anything out, and it was a really bad experience. And that's why I ended up putting a 912 in and also getting the different screen or EFIS. So what this plane means to me now, I think this airplane means, to me right now, it's a lot of freedom. Like out there, life is hectic. Like it's not kind and it's hard, and you know, this is sort of my freedom. It's my happy place. It's getting outside and just being able to sit in the middle of nowhere and have peace around you. And you know, when you're flying, you have nothing else on your mind. And I think that this plane brings me a lot of freedom and a lot of peace and inner peace. And I think that's probably why I won't sell it either, is because the amount of peace and sort of inner freedom I get from owning this airplane is unmatched. And like when I told my wife, like, I'm thinking of selling the airplane, maybe get something else or maybe sell it or whatever, she's like, you can't do that, because like, what's going to happen to you? So anyway, it's a funny story, but that's where we're at. I've had some really cool moments with friends and with my wife, and you know, there's some really special moments that I've got from this airplane. This plane's been a lot of fun, but you need to respect it, obviously. There's no crazy bad habits. So yes, they are definitely safe airplanes. And if you find a Bushbaby and you really want to get into flying, I think you should too. And please like this video, subscribe if you haven't. It really helps the channel grow. So like, subscribe, share. See you guys in the next one. Cheers.